Hey guys, and welcome to Things I've Learned to Find Happiness. All right, guys, so I started this series because even though I had a lot of happy times in my life and I spent a lot of my life fairly happy, but I started to realize that I was having a lot more happy moments than actually being happy deep down. So as a kid, it really wasn't that hard to find happiness, but I started noticing as I got older, happiness started becoming further and further away from me. And even though I was learning and doing all of these things that were supposed to bring me like a lot of joy and happiness, I found that the information I was learning wasn't adding up into the real world results. And I wanted more. So I achieved most of my childhood goals around 30 years old, and I found that I was left with just, again, a lot of happy moments, but without those moments, I didn't feel complete. And so it's like I was always chasing this thing, right? And something was still missing in my life. And so I went on this mission to find out what that was. So I realized that my goals were kind of a distraction, almost away from my happiness in a way, even though they made me happy, and I still, I had and I still have a lot of ambitious goals. But before I started going back on another journey of more goals, I wanted to really figure out this happiness thing first and really get myself happy first. And this is because I figured, hey, like if I'm on this earth and time is ticking for all of us, we're all getting closer to that day we die. No matter how we spend our time being miserable or being happy, it's all ticking down. So I didn't want to spend another moment unhappy just in case, I get hit by a bus in a few days. I may as well enjoy the journey the whole way through. But, ironically, I found that the happier I got, the more sustainable and the more ambitiousness I got. And the highs and lows in my life, they started to kind of like level out into more of a consistent state of pretty joyful, which was great. So I figured I was really like onto something here, so I kept going. So in this series, you're going to see a wide range of learnings and teachings about happiness from neuroscience, from cognitive behavioral therapy, from evolutionary psychology, mystic, yogi advice, success and personal development, and just kind of the whole spectrum, all the things that are supposed to make you happy. I went and I tried to figure out something in all of those areas, look for the common threads and narrow them down into a few basic concepts that actually work and actually I found a lot of happiness in. So my goal of this series is to give you guys tons of tips and tricks for the things that I've learned that actually worked for me to get to the place where I was finding myself in a lot of depression and anxiety, to a place of pretty freaking happy and joyful. And I wanted to find things that, to share things with you guys that worked, not just for myself, but that also would work hopefully for the vast majority of all of us. And skipping over all of the stuff that should work written by probably not so happy people, quite frankly. So welcome to Our Love, Our Journey. And this is my series on things I've learned to find happiness. And guys, I will say that this has been one of the biggest things I've learned in my life that's brought me the most happiness. So really listen up to this episode. You're going to get a ton of value in this, okay? Let's go. So now there's a lot in the scope of neuroscience, and I want to break this down into two main points of focus, right? That way I don't bore you, and it's for time's sake. So to keep you from yawning, so let's go. So we're going to focus mostly on the dopamine and serotonin. This is most of our motivation of why we do what we do, and this is pretty much the majority of where our happiness comes from. And so I want to break this down into two categories so we're on the same page. And so you're going to learn a little something as well. So dopamine is more the excitement about the pursuit of something. So it's like, oh man, I can't wait until I reach that goal. Oh, I'm going to be rich. Oh, and as you're working toward a goal, you'll notice like, oh, like I feel good. Dopamine is more the promise to yourself internally on an unconscious level that happiness is just around the corner, which also makes you happy, right? And then things that give you dopamine will be like scrolling through social media, eating fast food or a high sugar meal. And then there's a few healthier ways of meeting dopamine would be going on a walk, a run, exercise, that feeling you feel during your exercise where you're just feeling so good, right? Or working towards / progressing toward a goal that is pretty challenging, right? Anytime there's a lot of resistance, then you're going to feel a nice amount of dopamine when you don't feel like doing something, which we'll talk about later. Now, serotonin is more the at peace feeling you get when you just, you have all your needs met and you're just feeling a state of more gratitude. So I like to think of serotonin as more gratitude, the feeling that you get during or after meditation. That's more serotonin, where you're just like, I'm at peace with whatever is, I need nothing else to be happy. That's your serotonin. Now, both of these are very good for obvious reasons. I'm not going to go too much further into detail on these. If you do want more information, stay tuned to the end of the episode, and I talk about more places that are very simple ways that you can grasp these concepts a little bit deeper. So the impact of what this has had in my life, I would say actually really high. And the reason being, the real reason being is because everything we're doing is really to just find more dopamine or find more serotonin. That's why we do what we do. It's really to find more pleasure. So I think of it as the shortcut, like the direct route to what you really want in life. We think that getting a car is going to make us happy. Now, what kind of fed us that feeling as we got closer to saving up our money for that car was the dopamine. So it's like, do you really need a car? Is the car making you happy, giving you dopamine? Or is it the pursuit of the car making you happy? So I want to cut out the middleman. I want to cut out the outside world, the materialistic things as much as possible. And I want to attach that dopamine to things that are going to have an everlasting effect. And at the end of that dopamine hit, I want to enjoy some serotonin, like the at peace feeling, right? And I don't want to go into details, but having the serotonin helps you with the longevity of more and more dopamine, or you will burn out. So would this give you short-term, midterm, or long-term happiness? I would say absolutely long-term if you figure out your keys and your triggers and how to plan and set up your life around these neural pathways. That way you're able to access them on a daily level, and you just kind of set up your days based around those things. Then yes, you will feel them every day for the rest of your life, which is such a good life, right? So the simplicity of this, if it's easy to do on a 1 to 10 ratio, I would say it's pretty easy. So I'd say like a 3, and with 10 being very hard. I'd say it's about a 3, and reason being is because you don't need to go into the super depths of this stuff unless you want to and you're a nerd like me and you want to go deeper into it. But all you really need is to understand the foundations, what triggers them, how you're meeting these needs currently, and how you'd like to get these needs met in the future in maybe a more optimal way. So for example, to get dopamine, you can do cocaine, or you can have a big goal that takes you 20 years to build, and working on it daily will get you dopamine. Or another example for serotonin, you can smoke a lot of marijuana. Or you notice that when you smoke marijuana, you don't really have a lot of like ambitiousness in you, right? So you can smoke marijuana, or you can have a gratitude practice of where you're meditating, or you're just writing down 3 things you're grateful for and why you're grateful for them, which is the most important piece of gratitude practice. And you'll notice that you get that need met that way. So it just depends on how you want to feel these and which ways serve you and which ways may hurt you. Learning curve to practical use ratio. So I would say once you figure this out, it's actually not that hard to learn, and it's not that hard to use because you're already getting your dopamine met. You know that feeling. You've experienced it before, like a lot of times, right? And so this is just going to teach you how to cut out more of that middleman and get straight to the source. So my overall experience of learning about the basics of neuroscience, in particular, the dopamine and the serotonin, understanding more of these things will really, really help. So ways that you guys can get more in your life, I will do another video below if you'd like, just please leave it in the comments. And best source to learn more, I find I learned a lot from Andrew Huberman. You can just Google him and look at his interview with Lewis Howes. I think it's a very good one. And you can also learn a lot more from David Engelman. He's also a neuroscientist, and he goes into a lot of really, really cool, interesting stuff and showing where the direction of humans are evolving to with this kind of awareness. Bonus tips to get more, I would dumb down the amount of dopamine you're getting from social media, from junk food and things like that. And here's the big kicker, guys, the big bonus tip from me. The big bonus tip for me is that I found the more I do things I don't want to do, the more resistance involved, the bigger the dopamine high, the better you feel. So you guys ever notice when you go to the gym and it's a day where you really don't feel like going? You know that feeling, you guys probably have all been there, but you ended up having your best workout ever? That's the dopamine hit I'm talking about. So when you find things to do that you don't want to do, go ahead and give it a try. I love this when I'm feeling lethargic, tired, unmotivated. I use dopamine as a motivation tool. So what I'll do is I'll just start moving and I'll start making my bed, or I'll start cleaning off the counter. And you'll notice as you do 1 or 2 of those things, you start feeling more and more reward, and you feel like doing more and more. Now you can move on to your bigger goals. So that's kind of how I start my day when I'm feeling unmotivated and lethargic. Hopefully that makes sense for the dopamine. For the serotonin, for me, you guys, if you followed any of my work, I'm a big proponent of meditation, but that works for me. Some people can do gratitude journaling, and that's another way. Or if you're able to just be in the moment, not think about the past, not think about the future, you're gonna feel that sense of gratitude, okay? Because there's only pain and suffering if you think about it. If there's only pain or suffering, it only lives in thinking about the past, thinking about the future. There is no suffering in the moment. For the most part, let's just say that, okay? So 99% of the time, your suffering is only coming from the past or the future. So if you're able to get in the moment and really appreciate that you have your dog, or really appreciate your spouse, or really appreciate whatever, right? That's going to give you that serotonin fix, which I like to get mine at the end of the day. But some people, you'll see like Gary Vee, he has a gratitude practice at the beginning of the day. But you'll notice that you need both if you want long-term happiness, long-term success, and long-term fulfillment. Okay, so anyways, I hope those tips help so much, and I cannot wait to see you guys in the very next episode. And please feel free to like, subscribe, and share. And thank you so much for watching Our Love, Our Journey. Happy 2021. See ya.